We're doing starts and sits for week 11. Let's go. Our must-start quarterback, CJ Stroud. I think we all know that we need to start CJ Stroud, but I have him ranked even higher than consensus. I have him a top 5 quarterback in all formats. He crushed the Bengals and the Buccaneers, and now he faces the easiest matchup possible versus the Cardinals. Plus, with Kyler Murray coming back, the Cardinals' offense is going to be better, giving CJ Stroud even more of an opportunity to succeed. He should have Nico Collins back, so I'm all in on CJ Stroud. I have him quarterback 4 in your 6-point passing touchdown leagues. Now, the must-sit quarterback, Russell Wilson. I think some people might want to start him after he's had 2 multi-touchdown games in a row, but that would be a big mistake. A big mistake. He has under 200 passing yards in 6 of 9 games so far, including all of the last 5. 18 passing touchdowns on just 1,800 or so passing yards is pretty high for a meh Broncos offense. And he's still only averaging 25 rushing yards a game. It's not enough to make him playable. I think he's a little bit of a trap. The volume's just not there. And if the touchdowns don't come, he's really going to crush you. So I have him quarterback 17. I'm looking another way this week. I really don't want to play Russell Wilson. Now, at running back, I want to talk about Rachaad White. I get it. The matchup versus the 49ers sucks. It sucks. But he can't run effectively anyway. He's only averaging 3.3 rushing yards a carry this year. But we're talking about someone who has 14.7 carries and almost 4 catches per game. 70% snap share every week. The Buccaneers clearly hate their backup running backs. They don't play Keyshawn Vaughn. They don't play Chase Edmonds. They don't play Sean Tucker. They hate all of them. Rachaad White is getting all of the work and receiving work. He is a must play every week. You cannot sit him. I see the ECR has him outside the top 20. I don't understand why. I have him running back 17, especially in PPR formats. I'm playing Rachaad White. Speaking of players that I'm not playing, Darrell Henderson and Royce Freeman. This Rams, I don't even call it a backfield, the running backs there, whatever you want to call them. They've both been awful. In 3 games, Henderson has got 40 carries for 111 yards and a touchdown. That's less than 30 yards a carry. 6 receptions for 75 yards. Freeman has looked a little better. He's had 33 carries for 142 yards, average, and also a touchdown, averaging a little more than 4 yards a carry. But he only has 1 catch for 6 yards, so no PPR work. Freeman's been a little more effective. Henderson's had a little bit more volume. You're not missing anything by just skipping these players. You don't have to start a running back from every team. It's not required. Don't start these Rams running backs. Go another way. I have them at running back 35 and 36. Please start someone else. Moving in to wide receiver. I have DJ Moore at wide receiver 20. And I know that, he hasn't done so much lately, but that's been because of Tyson Bagent. In the games that Justin Fields has played, DJ Moore is averaging 19.7 PPR points. The funny thing is, he has similar target and reception numbers with Fields versus Bagent, but all of his touchdowns have come with Justin Fields, and he has 97 yards per game with Fields versus just 52.8 with Tyson Bagent. Fields isn't 100% with a thumb injury, and I'd rather not actually play him at quarterback, but DJ Moore has been okay even with Bagent. He's a must-play with Justin Fields. I have him wide receiver 20, and I can't imagine any situation where I'm sitting DJ Moore. Now, moving into my must-sit wide receiver, it's Jakobi Meyers. And I get that the matchup against the Dolphins kind of calls for a little bit of a back and forth, but we can't trust Meyers with Aiden O'Connell. In the last 2 games, since the quarterback and coaching change to Antonio Pierce as head coach from Josh McDaniels, Meyers has done nothing. He's still playing the snaps, 82 and 91%, but he just has totaled 4 catches for 59 yards on 7 targets. It's not something that we want to play at all. I think that Davante Adams has more control over the offense now with Aiden O'Connell at quarterback. Davante Adams can tell Aiden O'Connell what to do in a way that I don't think he could tell Jimmy Garoppolo what to do. So with that being said, I can't play Jakobi Meyers. I have him at wide receiver 40. He's a must sit. Moving into tight end, I will say my tight end ranks were like right down the line with the expert consensus ranking this week. It's kind of a chalky week at the top, but I don't think I've discussed really Jake Ferguson at all this season. So I want to give him some props. He had an 80% snap share in the 3 weeks before last week's blowout against the Giants. And for the year, he's averaging 4 receptions and 39.3 yards per game, which is almost an 8-point PPR average without even touchdowns included. He's only got 4 touchdowns, but the Cowboys are a strong offense. That's pretty good for a tight end. He's a must start. I have him tight end 10. The matchup against Carolina is pretty good. And I'm totally fine playing Jake Ferguson this week. In terms of someone I don't want to play, David Njoku, who I have a tight end 18. None of the stats matter. ECR still has him ranked at 13. It's a huge mistake. We haven't seen Dorian Thompson-Robinson demonstrate an ability to play football in the NFL. And I'm not playing David Njoku. I guess I could start Amari Cooper from this offense if I absolutely had to, but I'm not looking into other receiving weapons on the Browns until I see DTR play well. So I'll be sitting David Njoku this week. And I think that those expert consensus rankings were mostly done when people thought Watson was going to start. And it just hasn't been updated yet. Either way, David Njoku is a must sit. So I appreciate everyone for watching the video so far. If you're here, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. That's the best way to support the channel. Now, I have a second segment of questions from the Patreon. Patrons can ask questions. You can sign up at patreon.com/fantasyadvice. The link is in the top right corner of the video and also in the show description underneath. And only patrons get to ask these advanced questions for the YouTube. So let's jump into these questions. The first one, start 2, bench 1 for this week. Puka Nacua, Sam LaPorta, and Trey McBride. I'm going to go with Sam LaPorta and Puka Nacua and bench Trey McBride. It's hard to bench Trey McBride, but that's what I'm going to do. The next one, Kyren and Achane are coming back. Your thoughts on these two? Will it be a ramp up or will they be back grabbing their pre-injury carries, even with their counterparts that have been playing in their absence? For Kyren Williams, I talked about the Rams backfield earlier. He's going to come back. He's going to be the starter right away. As for Devon Achane, I do think there could be a little bit of a ramp up, but I'm still playing him. There's no way to sit Devon Achane if he's healthy because he can make your fantasy week in 1 carry. And he's just that explosive. So I'm playing both of them, and we'll see about Kyren next week. But for Devon Achane, he's a must play this week. I have him inside my top 10. I've had a lot of questions about Sam Howell. Is he a long-term solution or short-term gold? I'm going to lean that it's kind of halfway in between. I do think that Sam Howell is going to be their starter next year because I don't see what choice they're going to have. But I really don't think that Sam Howell is actually that good. He's reckless with the ball. He's not, looking kind of like a franchise quarterback. So what I think is he'll be the starter next year because they won't have a choice. He's kind of going to just be okay. They're going to lose more games, and I think they'll move on after that year. So kind of halfway in between for me. It's an interesting question here, actually. Dawson Knox coming back soon, right? How does this affect Dalton Kincaid? Knox probably is going to come back when he's eligible to come off IR. But I don't think it's going to affect Dalton Kincaid at all. I don't think we can put what we've seen from Dalton Kincaid back in the bottle. I think what they're going to do when Dawson Knox comes back is play Kincaid in an every down role. Knox will only come in on 12 personnel, and they're going to have to decide who they think is more valuable to their offense, Dawson Knox or Khalil Shakir. I think it's Khalil Shakir, and I think that they should just relegate Knox to a bit part role, but that's just my opinion. Either way, they cannot bench Dalton Kincaid. He's been way too good. He should have an 80% snap share moving forward. A big fan of Dalton Kincaid. Nico Collins or Tank Dell if you had to choose one. So this is an interesting question. For this week, with Nico Collins coming off the injury, I like him a little bit better with Noah Brown out, but I'm still choosing Tank Dell. Tank Dell has been really hot. He had the targets last week, and there's no way I can bench him. In terms of Dynasty, I still think Nico Collins is the better player. So I'll stick with Nico Collins in Dynasty. Is Josh Dobbs a starting quarterback in 2024? Very interesting question. I'm going to say no, but I could see a way that it's possible, but I'm going to lean no. We'll see. I think he could go and maybe compete for a job or something, but I'm not ready to I'm not convinced that Joshua Dobbs is a starting quarterback just yet. And I still think there's a good chance the Vikings could retain Kirk Cousins. If he is a starting quarterback, it's most likely to be for the Vikings. So I think what the Vikings do with him is going to be very telling. Who are some good, cheap QB trade targets to replace Burrow when he's out? One QB league? Oh, man. I mean, maybe you can get Baker Mayfield for cheap. He's been fine. Potentially Matthew Stafford, kind of the same, also with the injury concerns. I know we talked about Russell Wilson as a must-sit earlier, but he might be cheap and provide you cheap production. Joshua Dobbs in one QB, I don't mind. He'll give you the rest of the year. So those are some good options if you don't want to spend too much. So this is referring to yesterday's game, which was a shit show. But what do you think is going to be the impact of the absence of Andrews in the Ravens passing game? So in case you missed it, Mark Andrews suffered a season-ending ankle injury last night, which is awful, which sucks. But it's going to have an impact on the Ravens passing game. Is it good for Flowers, good for OBJ, or just good for Likely? I think it hurts the whole passing offense. I'm not sure that there's going to be one big beneficiary. But what I do think is going to happen is without Mark Andrews, I think they're going to play 11 personnel exclusively. I can't see that they're going to run their offense with Isaiah Likely and Charlie Kolar on the field as a base set over playing, OBJ on 60, 70% of snaps. So I think OBJ is the one who benefits the most because I think he was seeing 30% snap shares. I think he's going to go right back up to being in the 60s and 70s, assuming his shoulder is okay, because he was also limping kind of with that shoulder at the end of the game. But yes, it's good for OBJ. Definitely gives Isaiah Likely some possibility to be startable, but I'm a little skeptical. He hasn't done anything all year. As for Zay Flowers, I don't really think his role is going to change that much, but it might give him a little boost from a mid wide receiver 3 to a borderline wide receiver 2. Who are your top 3 buys for rebuilding teams right now? Oh, I mean, Drake London has been up there. Drake London, my confidence in him as a talent has not changed. And he's just stuck in a bad situation. Garrett Wilson, of course, the whole year. I think he would be a top 3 dynasty wide receiver if Aaron Rodgers had stayed healthy. Those are a couple. Depends on, what you're looking for. But Drake London, Garrett Wilson are high on my list. Maybe Anthony Richardson if people don't want him because he's hurt, because I really think he showed that he's going to be a fantasy superstar when he's healthy. So there's 3. I appreciate all these Patreon questions, especially Sunlight Dish Soap for all of them. He asked 20 questions. I chose 5, but he asked 20. So I appreciate you giving me so many options to choose from. Well, we're here at the end of the video. Once again, I'll remind you, like, comment, and subscribe if you like the stuff on the channel. Every Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, we do the live show. And then, of course, if you want to support my content, sign up for the Patreon, patreon.com/fantasyadvice. Top right corner, show description. You can find that link. But until next time, I will see you all later. Peace out.